Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I am hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload, as you can tell by the title of this video, if you're watching this video and you're thinking we're talking about the tropics, no, we're not talking about the hurricanes or tropical storms. I already made a video about that, so go check that out. And for official info, go to the National Hurricane Center. This video is just about the pattern across the United States, because I know that the tropics may be interesting and all, but there's still a lot of people that live in the U.S. that aren't really going to get directly impacted by the storm, but will be impacted by several other systems that are still noteworthy of talking about. It's really easy to just forget about everything else while we have a tropical storm and hurricane going on, and or just a active, I guess. An active threat, and that's understandable. I mean, the hurricane, tropical storm, that should be the main focus, but I also just want to focus on this stuff a little bit. So, again, you can tell we're talking about the growing threat for a series of large storms that could be occurring this upcoming week, and definitely just a very interesting pattern. So, bundle up. We're going to be talking about this. So, if you guys would like to subscribe to the channel, I do all sorts of weather-related content. I'm a hobbyist, do this for the fun of it, but it's just we have a fine community of weather fans on here. And if you could like the video, if you're a returning viewer, that would be awesome. Let's get into this video without further ado. So the first thing I want to look at is the GFS, the Global Forecasting System model, and let's take a look at what this shows. So right now, there isn't really any large storm occurring. There's one in the making. Obviously, there's a lot of activity, lots of showers towards the south brought by the tropical activity. But notice, we have a little small system that at this point is very weak, but it's definitely there. This is across really western Ontario. It moves into Quebec and it becomes a pretty large system. You can see 996 millibars of pressure. While this doesn't really affect the United States, it does affect a good portion of Canada. So any Canadian viewers from really Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, these cities will definitely get a lot of showers and storms. They will be scattered, but if you get under one of these bad boys, you could get a downpour, and that's definitely a concern. It could ruin your day, or it could literally ruin something that's more valuable, like a house or something, with some floodwaters. Again, it's just a quick moving storm, so it shouldn't be that bad. But notice it also drags a nice little cold front kind of across the Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania area. So it's the storm is far to the north, but it's still affecting parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region and to the northern United States. As this storm pushes away, it becomes actually pretty strong just off the eastern coast of Canada, and that will be occurring around this upcoming midweek. So Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe, this storm already moved out of the United States. We are not looking at a lot of precipitation remaining across the United States from it, but we are looking at a cool air blast that could be affecting the upper parts of the Northeast, and that definitely could be a bit of a concern. Not really concern, that's just more of a kind of a issue, or just a weather occurrence. It's going to be some nice, pleasant, cool temperatures. No frost yet, but definitely a nice, cool fall blast. But if you live across southeast Canada, that may be a problem for sure, as that storm will kind of bomb out. It will be very powerful, very strong, and you can see right there 988, and will kind of almost stay stationary for a good bit of time. So that would actually lead to a bit of rain, a bit of strong winds. So that's definitely could whip a few things around and just bring some dreary weather. Notice right there we have it just kind of spins in a circle. A lot of precipitation may fall, so that definitely will swamp things up, make them soggy, and definitely not the best case scenario. But it would be better if it just moved out quickly. But you can see it stays there for quite a while of a time. Thank goodness it's not affecting large cities. There are significant cities here, right? But they're not as big as New York, Boston, where millions of people live. This is more in the secluded areas, but obviously it's still important to talk about it since people do live here, and it just that obviously matters. It doesn't have to be a large city to make the headlines. Notice lots of rain. A lot of it does fall off the shore and not on land, right? But this definitely still could be moved around with each model run, and you could see 4 or 5 inches, which is probably around 80, 90 to 100 millimeters of water. Anywhere from 80 to 100 millimeters of water, definitely not out of the question. And you can see that that's how much is forecast to fall. Let's go back to the United States, the continental United States, and southern Canada, the view of southern Canada, and let's see what else happens after that storm. So while that is a significant storm, it's not the only one, and it's really the weaker one of the bunch that's coming towards us. By the end of this week, we have this tropical storm, probably a hurricane by landfall, Hurricane Laura, and this would probably make its way into the United States, as it's supposed to be a strong storm according to most models. You can see into Arkansas, Missouri, and what we get is a very interesting feature that hasn't occurred in a very long time. Notice we see a hurricane combining with a low pressure that is weak, if you will, in nature, but it makes it a much stronger storm. We get two low pressure systems. We get this wave kind of gets enhanced by the tropical activity. This one kind of also gets enhanced by the northern wave. So they just combine and they form this large system, two separate systems really, but otherwise, if this hurricane was just alone, it probably wouldn't develop into this storm. But you can see it takes advantage of the moisture left behind it by this northern wave, and lots of rain, showers, thunderstorms, rain. There could be just a widespread rain event where it's just light to moderate rain across a general area. Notice that it does intensify off the coast a bit, so definitely a bit of concern for some rain and wind, and just a lot of precipitation flying around the map, really. Lots of scattered showers, areas of showers. So that's definitely going to be interesting. This will be occurring around the next weekend time frame. And this is what many models are actually showing. This isn't just one model. This is a indication of, or this is a kind of a continuation of several other model runs. Notice we get a little cool blast of air, but we see another storm forming out to the west, and that brings in another blast of warm air, kind of kicks this warm air out. This one is very far to the north. Let's actually look at this, and let's look at North America. This storm is actually very powerful. It's very far to the north, at least the beginnings of it. And then notice as we push forward into the time, it develops a very strong cold front across Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. This would definitely be more of a concern for severe weather with this, as usually with cold fronts we see kind of like the nastier side of weather. And notice that we see a lot of moisture. This storm pushes way into northern Canada, into Nunavut, and almost into basically the pole, into the North Pole, and we just see a resurgence of moisture. The kind of like the moisture left behind by the cold front is picked up by another storm, and we just see a large line of really still connected to this system, but it's just very drawn out, and it's very significant amounts of rain could fall with this, and another low pressure develops with that. So see, this is what I'm talking about. This could be a very nasty storm. This could be a very large system over several days, dropping lots of water. And notice this is only a few days after the weekend system with the hurricane combination. So this definitely has a lot of potential for lots of precipitation. Really, the Northeast kind of gets lucky, doesn't really get hit by this rain, but they definitely would like to see some rain, some portions of the Northeast. But it gets a lot of the Midwest, Ohio, Pennsylvania, good news for them in terms of the drought. But notice we see a different pattern set up after that. We see more of a cool pattern, a cool wave trying to make its way into the United States. And with that, we could still see a bit of showers, activity. And we actually do see another storm forming right here, almost like a Clipper-like storm, which just all rain. But notice that if I were to look at the anomalies at this time frame, they would be much below average. And really, that would be the case if that storm were to occur. That's a large storm, and large storms like that have a lot of reach, if you will. They have lots of connections with the cold air, and they kind of just tell it to come down into the United States with doors wide open, and that's what it does. Notice this won't be affecting everyone. The West will be warm and hot, and actually almost breaking records. I mean, that heat is just ridiculous, right? But this doesn't look to last for too long. Even the warmth or the cool in the east, you can see it kind of gets interrupted by some heat, or it starts getting interrupted by some warmer air. So this is definitely still, not confirmed, but the Climate Prediction Center is on par with this to a certain extent. And otherwise, up until that point where we could see that giant cool-off, it's going to be mainly warm, but there definitely will be phases of cooler air across regions of the United States. You could see Montana across next weekend. Montana could be very cool, and southwestern Canada, and even into eastern eastern United States. And then we see this blast kind of shiver away, if you will, followed by this larger one. But really, I think the GFS does underestimate a bit of the warmth, and it does like to show more of the heat, or show more of the cold than the heat. But the thing is that the European model also is in pretty good agreement with the GFS, and if you were to look at the European in its 240 hours. You can see shows lots of heat, obviously. Definitely a good dose of heat, and that continues. Wednesday this week looks absolutely sweltering for a good portion of the United States, excluding the portions of extreme northeast where it could get cool. But notice it does introduce a few air masses that are cool. It just isn't as powerful as a GFS, but definitely there, and we'll have to monitor that and see what happens. And also the European doesn't go out as far as the GFS. So it has, obviously this wave is a bit different than when the GFS was showing. Let's look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, August 31st to the September 6th. You can see the cool air is definitely mentioned, and that's because the GFS is being consistent with that, but definitely the warm air across the west, coastal west, and the south and east is also present. Precipitation, you can see above average, and that's just to do with the large storms that will be coming across the country, tracking across the country, so that's definitely still a concern. And then 6 to 10 day outlook, a bunch of the same story, just a bit of a different layout. We see cooler temperatures across the northern U.S. and warmer across the southern, and that is self-explanatory. Usually it's cooler in the north, but what I'm saying here is cooler than normal. So this time around it laid out to be perfectly on par with what we usually expect, cooler in the north, but sometimes, this cool weather could be in the south and the warm could be in the north. But this time around, it's just the way it is. And notice, so generally, there's definitely a good chance of cooler air. This September could be looking pretty interesting. There's a lot of just a lot of undecisiveness with these months. They seem to be on the warmer side, but we just get a few of these little locking patterns going on, and we could flip a whole month on the cool side. And you can see just a really above average precipitation as it's just more confidence in the big storms in a shorter range. So that is definitely the case. And in terms of the GFS, I just want to show you quickly the GFS total accumulated precipitation amounts, and show you how much rain could fall with the GFS. They're just showing some pretty large amounts, obviously, especially across the areas where the storm would occur, so kind of like the central part of the country right there, and the east as well, though. The west staying mainly dry, but hopefully we could get a little bit more precipitation working in there, as they are in a pretty significant drought. Let's look at the high-resolution European model. Let's quickly take a look at the precipitation. And I just want to take you through it. Notice we're showing the storm system that is developing right now across Saskatchewan and moving into Ontario. That passes through, again, does develop into a large storm off the eastern coast of Canada, so definitely if you live there, keep an eye out for that. You can see it really keeps a tropical storm, Laura or Hurricane Laura, very weak, and it doesn't do the same dance really as well as a GFS does with these two storms combining, but it definitely does introduce the chance of a lot of rain and just an increased precip. You can see this storm is a bit further to the north, but it's a bit stronger. This system's a bit weaker, but we'll have to see. The European may be wrong about that, or I may be right, but again, it's still up for grab. Notice it moves into the northeast, lots of precipitation does occur, and generally wet pattern. And then we see that giant storm, which is a bit further to the south, and the European kind of has like that, almost like that question mark look, or kind of like that sickle, if you will. And it really does produce quite a bit of precipitation in a large cold front. And if you were to look at the total accumulated precipitation through 240 hours, you just notice that it just blows up the colors. Lots of reds, lots of purples, just a widespread wet pattern, even into southern Canada, into the parts of the northeast. Maybe the coastal area is a bit drier, depends on where things lay out. Even the mountains in the Colorado, Wyoming, they are a bit wetter. Some rain will definitely be falling, but just really anywhere else in the west, especially the further west you go towards the coast, it's just dry. And that's bad news. And then again, southeastern Canada looking very wet as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking this video, consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.